Optimal health for high performers. This is the Health Upgrade Podcast with Dr. Nawaz Habib.
Hi, it's Dr. Habib. Today's 10-minute upgrade is on how to upgrade your mornings so that you have productive, meaningful, and amazing days. We want to make sure that we have an amazing morning every day as much as possible because obviously as we wake up in the morning, we set a tone for the day. We set a goal, we set a manifestation, we set out a tone for how that day is going to play out. And the morning is where we have an opportunity to create the type of upgrade and the type of tone that we want for that day. So I'm going to go through 3 upgrades to make to your morning to help you feel energized, feel accomplished, feel ready to take on the day, and to set a very positive tone for that day. The first one is to wake up at the same time every day. This is generally done in an ideal situation about 6 to 7 times a week. You can allow yourself one day here and there to allow yourself to sleep in where possible if the family allows you to sleep and to catch up on something that you may be missing. There's occasionally a need for increased recovery and increased time just left laying in bed. But on average and in the vast majority of days, we want to try to wake up at the same time every day. What that does is it creates an internal clock, an internal motivating factor to get out of bed and say, this is what I need to do. And it sets the tone for what the day is going to be like. If we're sitting there pressing snooze, hitting the button on our cell phones beside our bed or on the alarm clock consistently, then that's actually going to push us in a negative direction. It's actually going to say, I don't want today to come on. I don't want to experience whatever today has to bring to me. And so you want to try to do your best to wake up at the same time every day. All right. That's the first thing. And that's something that I've manifested. That's something that I've put into practice generally as much as I possibly can, where the family allows it, where the need allows it. Obviously allows for some flexibility, for some resilience in this, for sure. If you have a bad day or you wake up late one day, no big deal. Don't beat yourself up. Be compassionate to yourself and then start again the next day or the next possible chance that you get. When you wake up matters, and I like to talk to a lot of my patients about helping to create productivity throughout their day, and that requires bookending your day with time for yourself. What that means is starting and ending your day with time to yourself to help create a plan for that day, to set that tone for that day. This is where we get to be the best version of ourselves throughout the rest of our day. If we are able to put our attention to how we want the day to go, and we are able to bookend the day early and say, this is what today is going to be like, this is the stuff that I need to get done, and then you finish the day by actually looking through it and checking to make sure that everything that you wanted to complete was completed or setting a plan for the next day, the bookending of your day is very important. But in order to allow this function to occur really well, I highly recommend doing your best to wake up earlier than kids, than your wife, than anybody else who requires your attention during that day. It doesn't necessarily mean waking up at 4:30 a.m. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do every single day at 5 o'clock in the morning or anything along those lines. Find a time that works really well for you. For me personally, it's somewhere between 5:45 and 6:15. Usually around that 6 o'clock time, I wake up and I'm going to make sure to spend some time alone, spend some time for myself to be able to gather my thoughts, plan out the day, make sure that my schedule is planned out, and just focus on what it is that I want to accomplish during that day. So a really important thing that you can do is try to wake up earlier than everybody else in your household, everybody else in the family, so that you can have time for yourself. When you do this effectively, what ends up happening is you show up as a better version of yourself for everybody in your family throughout the rest of the day. If you know that you have to do the drop-off for your kids and you have to make sure that you're picking up groceries and you've got a few other things that need to get done during the day, setting that tone or setting that plan from early on makes sure that you have that intention and that you complete the things that you need to complete. And that way, at the end of the day, when you're doing your bookend and you're checking in to make sure that you've completed everything, you actually feel that dopamine rush of, yeah, I got this done. Yeah, I got that done. And you feel really good about it. So that's a really positive way to help upgrade your morning. The last one is to incorporate some form of movement or exercise in the morning where possible. So for those who know me, I have a Peloton bike. I jump on that bike at least twice, if not 3 or 4 times per week. And what that does is it helps to get blood flowing. It helps to get me thinking clearly. It helps to wake me up completely. And I tend to get that done and out of the way in the morning prior to everybody else waking up. It also allows me to get my sweat on, make sure that I'm hydrating at the same time, make sure that I'm feeling really good, and that I've completed any exercise that I want to get in for that day. You don't have to be pushing yourself every single time you exercise. And it's in fact very important that you don't push yourself to the brink every single time that you do exercise. So if you want to, push yourself between 2 and 4 times per week to a point where you're panting, breathing really hard, heart rate is getting really quite high into the 80-90 percentile range. But some form of movement or some form of bodily alignment is really, really helpful, especially on recovery days, on days that you don't want to push yourself. Doing 10 or 15 minutes of stretching, of mobilization, of yoga practice, of some sort of movement, just to get your muscles aware that the day is starting. It just gets your body pumping the way that it should. It gets your heart rate going, it gets your heart pumping, and it gets your muscles warmed up so that you can take on the day and you feel good about it. And you don't start off the day with all these creaks in our neck and issues in our back and tight joints and tight muscles. That morning routine of movement can be very beneficial in helping you achieve optimal results during that day, and as a sign of how your body is functioning on that day to help you become aware of what's really going on. A really great tool that I use that I've incorporated with a lot of my chiropractic patients is something called the Functional Range Conditioning Morning Routine. Highly recommend looking this up on YouTube, the FRC Morning Routine, created by Dr. Andrea Ospina and the team at the FRC team. Those guys are absolutely spectacular, and I highly recommend some sort of mobility work, some sort of exercise, at least a couple mornings per week where you're able to assess how your body is functioning and get joints moving to help carve out space for your body to be moving at a high level. All right? Those are 3 ways to help upgrade your morning. First off, wake up at the same time every day. Second, wake up earlier than everybody else and create a plan and spend some time on yourself to help bookend that day at the beginning and at the end of the day. And lastly, get in some movement, some form of exercise in the morning to get your blood flowing and get your body pumping, ready for the day, and to check in on how your body is truly feeling from a physical stress perspective on that day. All right? I hope this has been helpful, and I wish you an upgraded day.